Hello, my name's David Rawnsley, and this is the last of 5 videos that share the mystical thoughts of some of our greatest scientists. As Nobel Prize recipients, they must also be recognized as the greatest scientists that mainstream science can muster. I have, of course, saved the best to last. It is once again the writing of Erwin Schrodinger that I have chosen, and his piece entitled The Mystic Vision. I think it says everything that needs to be said. For philosophy, the real difficulty lies in the spatial and temporal multiplicity of observing and thinking individuals. If all events took place in one consciousness, the whole situation would be extremely simple. There would be something given, a simple datum, and this, however otherwise constituted, could scarcely present us with a difficulty of such magnitude as the one we do in fact have on our hands. I do not think that this can be logically resolved by consistent thought within our intellects. But it is quite easy to express the solution in words. Thus, the plurality that we perceive is only an appearance. It is not real. Vedantic philosophy, in which this is a fundamental dogma, has sought to clarify this with a number of analogies, one of the most attractive being the many-faceted crystal, which, while showing hundreds of little pictures of what is in reality a single existent object, does not really multiply that object. We, intellectuals of today, are not accustomed to admit a pictorial analogy as a philosophical insight. We insist on logical deduction. But, as against this, it may perhaps be impossible for logical thinking to disclose at least this much: that grasp of the basis of phenomena through logical thought may, in all probability, be impossible, since logical thought is itself part of phenomena and wholly involved in them. We may ask ourselves whether, in this case, we are obliged to deny ourselves the use of an allegoric picture of the situation merely on the grounds that its fitness cannot be strictly proved. In a considerable number of cases, logical thinking brings us up to a certain point and then leaves us in the lurch. Faced with an area not directly accessible to these lines of thought, but one into which they seem to lead, we may manage to fill it in such a way that the lines do not simply peter out, but converge on some central point in that area. This may amount to an extremely valuable rounding out of our picture of the world, and its worth is not to be judged by those standards of rigorous, unequivocal inescapability from which we started out. There are hundreds of cases in which science uses this procedure, and it has long been recognized as justified. Later on, we shall try to adduce some support for the basic Vedantic vision, chiefly pointing out particular lines in modern thought which converge upon it. Let us first be permitted to sketch a concrete picture of an experience which may lead towards it. In what follows, the particular situation described at the beginning could be replaced equally fittingly by any other. It is merely meant as a reminder that this is something that needs to be experienced, not simply given a notional acknowledgement. Suppose you are sitting on a bench beside a path in high mountain country. There are grassy slopes all around, with rocks thrusting through them. On the opposite slope of the valley, there is a stretch of scree with a low growth of alder bushes. Woods climb steeply on both sides of the valley, up to the line of treeless pasture. Facing you, soaring up from the depths of the valley, is the mighty glacier-tipped peak. Its smooth snowfields and hard-edged rock faces touched at this moment with soft rose colour by the last rays of the departing sun, all marvellously sharp against the clear, pale, transparent blue of the sky. According to our usual way of looking at it, everything that you are seeing has, apart from small changes, been there for thousands of years before you. After a while, not long, you will no longer exist, and the woods and rocks and sky will continue unchanged for thousands of years after you. What is it that has called you so suddenly out of nothingness to enjoy for a brief while a spectacle which remains quite indifferent to you? The conditions for your existence are almost as old as the rocks. For thousands of years men have striven and suffered and begotten, and women have brought forth in pain. 100 years ago, perhaps, another man sat on this spot. Like you, he gazed with awe and yearning in his heart at the dying light on the glaciers. Like you, he was begotten of man and born of woman. He felt pain and breathed joy as you do. Was he someone else? Was it not yourself? What is this self of yours? What was the necessary condition for making the thing conceived this time into you, just you, and not someone else? What clearly intelligible scientific meaning can this someone else really have? If she, who is now your mother, had cohabitated with someone else and had a son by him, and your father had done likewise, would you have come to be? Or were you living in them and in your father's father thousands of years ago? And even if this is so, why are you not your brother? Why is your brother not you? Why are you not one of your distant cousins? What justifies you in obstinately discovering this difference, the difference between you and someone else, when objectively what is there is the same? Looking and thinking in that manner, you may suddenly come to see in a flash the profound rightness of the basic conviction in Vedanta. It is not possible that this unity of knowledge, feeling and choice, which you call your own, should have sprung into being from nothingness at a given moment not so long ago. Rather, this knowledge, feeling and choice are essentially eternal and unchangeable and numerically one in all men, nay, in all sensitive beings. But not in this sense, that you are a piece of an eternal, infinite being, an aspect or modification of it, as in Spinoza's pantheism. For we should then have the same baffling question: Which part, which aspect are you? What objectively differentiates it from the others? No, but inconceivable as it seems to ordinary reason, you and all other conscious beings as such are all in all. Hence this life of yours, which you are living, is not merely a piece of the entire existence, but is, in a sense, the whole. Only this whole is not so constituted that it can be surveyed in one single glance. This, as we know, is what the Brahmins express in that sacred mystic formula, which is yet really so simple and so clear. Tat Tvam Asi. This is you. Or again in such words as, I am in the east and in the west. I am below and above. I am the whole world. Thus you can throw yourself flat on the ground, stretch out upon Mother Earth, with certain conviction that you are one with her and she with you. You are as firmly established, as invulnerable as she, indeed 1,000 times firmer and more invulnerable. As surely as she will engulf you tomorrow, so surely will she bring you forth anew to new striving and suffering, and not merely some day, now, today, every day she is bringing you forth, not once, but thousands upon thousands of times, just as every day she engulfs you 1,000 times over. For eternally and always there is only now, one and the same now. The present is the only thing that has no end. Thank you, Mr. Schrodinger.